So here we are on CodingBat, Array2, only 14. So it says given an array of integers, return true if every element is a 1 or a 4. So in this case, every element is in fact a 1 or a 4, so we return true. In this case, every element is not a 1 or a 4. In fact, we have a 2 in there, so we return false. Here, every element is a 1 or a 4, so we return true. So sort of rushing through it here, actually what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to have a Boolean variable, right? A Boolean variable called contains, and this will sort of keep track of whether or not the array contains 1 and 4 for each and every element. And I'm going to start off by giving the value false to the variable contains. Since I know I want to look at each and every element in the array, I'm going to use a for loop to actually iterate through the array itself. Sort of peek through each and every box in the array, referenced, of course, by its index, to actually look at the element. Now that I'm inside, whatever logic I put inside this for loop, each and every element at each and every index, or referenced by each and every index, will be under scrutiny of any kind of logic that I have contained within both of these brackets. So in this case, if I say, well, if I have an if statement here, and inside this if statement, what I did was I said, okay, well, if nums of I equals 4, or nums of I equals 1, in that case, what I'll do is, or actually, let me change this around just because we want to go in ascending order here. But if nums of I is equal to 1 or nums of I is equal to 4, yeah, then contains is equal to true. Otherwise, contains is equal to false. Now, I shouldn't have done otherwise contains equals to false, because contains was false anyway. So if it's not set to true, it's going to spit back the default value for contains, which is false. So there's really no need to go through that. So after it's all said and done, I decided to return contains, and that didn't work out very well. And you'll see if I press go, it doesn't work out well at all. What's the problem? What's happening? Well, if you think about it, this is, so if I had, let's say, 4 and 1, right, as my array, right? So we're on the first element, and of course, these arrays, they have elements, and these elements are referenced by their index, and the index count starts from 0 and moves its way up from 1. And so that's actually what the for loop does. It helps us reference these elements, referenced, of course, by these indexes, and I is keeping track of the index and increments by 1. So we're actually looking at different elements each and every iteration. And so for this particular array, we're looking at 0. And if we're looking at the 0th index, we're looking at the first element. So now nums of I is equal to 4, or nums of I is equal to 0. So we're looking at the first element, which is 4. And so it says, well, if 4 is equal to true, and of course we want this array to sort of give an output of true, right? If nums of I is equal to 1, or nums of I is equal to 4, then contains is equal to true. Right? And then it comes back again. And it says, if nums of I is equal to 1, or nums of I is equal to 4, it's equal to 1. Contains is equal to true. And so it returns true for contains, which I guess is a good thing. But assume this. If I had, for instance, if I had an array which looks like this, what do you think we'd want to return now? Well, we'd want to return false, right? Because each and every element in the array is not a 1 or a 4. In fact, there's a 3 in there. However, when we're on this particular index, which is 2, referencing the third element, it says if nums of I is equal to 1 or nums of I is equal to 4, contains is equal to true. So right now contains is false. Right? Let me write that up here. Contains is equal to false right now. So if nums of I is equal to 1 or nums of I is equal to 4, right now we're looking at the element here, which is 3, contains is equal to true. So it doesn't get set equal to true because nums of I is not equal to 1 and nums of I is not equal to 4. So contains is equal to false right now. Sorry, the default value, which is false. And then as we move on, we're looking at this element now, which is referenced by the third index. And we come back again in the for loop and we say, okay, is nums of I equal to 1 or equal to 4? In fact, it is. So we set contains equal to true. And that, of course, does this. So for a false, we expect a false value, but it gives true. It's only registering the last element in the array. I mean, if you think about it, despite whatever happens before, it looks at the last element in the array and it changes from true to false. So it sort of fluctuates as it moves through the array from false to true to false. And when it reaches the last element, it judges whether it's a 4 or a 1. And if it is, it sets the entire thing to true. So this is probably not the best way to go about it, right? Probably not the best way to go about it. Well, what if I said that, let me assume that that the array has has all 1s and 4s, or 1s or 4s. In other words, every element in the array is either a 1 or a 4. Let me just assume that's true to begin with. And if at any given point I sense a number which is not 1 or not 4, then I'll set contains to false. Would this work? It wouldn't. Think about what I'm doing here. I set contains equals to true, so I'm returning the value for true regardless. And if at any given point it's not 1, if at any given point nums of I is not 1 or nums of I is not 4, I'll set it equal to false. It must be 1 or 4, right? That's what I think. That's what you'd think. I mean, if you look at it, just translating it in English language, it must either be a 1 or a 4. If it's not, contains would equal to false, and that's exactly what we're doing here. But you'll notice that if we had a solution set here, which is, let's see, suppose we had a 1 and a 1. Well, let's see here. You'll see here that nums of I is not equal to 1. If nums of I does not equal to 1, of course it does, or nums of I does not equal to 4. And in this case, 1, which we have our element here, it doesn't equal 4. And so we can safely enter the if statement and set contains to false. But of course, we'd want to return true for this one here. Similarly, if you had 4 and 1, again, you'd want to return true. But you'll go inside the if statement, you'll say, does it not equal to 1? Well, it doesn't, right? For the first element in the array, which is 4 does not equal to 1. So we'll set contains to false, but we want to return true. So it must be that if it doesn't equal to 1, and it doesn't equal to 4, then and only then would we set contains to false. So in this case, if we had 4, 1, 2, 1, right? We'll assume it's true. Right now it's true. Right now it's true because it's coming here. It's saying, does it not equal to 1? Well, it does. Well, sorry, or not equal to 4? Well, it does equal to 4. Does it not equal to 1? Well, it does equal to 1. Does 2 not equal to 1 or 4? And 4 rather? Yes. So we enter this if statement and we set contains to false, and we never change it again. We never change it again because I mean, nowhere are we coming back again and changing it to true. That the for loop just doesn't contain a statement to set the value to true again. So we want to set it to false once and then not set it to true ever again, despite whatever may come. And so when we run this here, let's see. We actually should be doing does not equal instead of equals, and then the exclamation mark. And we get all greens.